Autumn, another season of change, where leaves are turning colors and mornings are getting colder as we approach the end of the year. And it's also a season for some unfinished handcraft projects. I am continuing to make a dent in my baggage of unfinished projects. As the autumn season has arrived, I have been inclined to do more handcrafts during this time. Specifically, I have been inclined to finish these socks I have been knitting since 2022. Yep, another 2-year project. But the stop of this project wasn't necessarily because of the completion anxiety. I started this project when I didn't have a job and I was just feeling down about my life. I experienced a massive burnout working in architecture, and I knew I didn't want to be in this industry anymore. This project was a way to occupy my mind a little bit, and also to escape the reality of the burnout in professional life. Because I was out of work, I was wary of my financial situation. I stopped this project knowing I wouldn't have enough yarn to finish it anyway. Fast forward 2 years later, I have taken on this unfinished project. I have ordered more yarn to make sure I have enough to finish this project this time around. And I think I have to make a plan for it. Before I restart this project, I have to remind myself what have I done so far. Once I tried on what I have knitted so far, I realized it's a bit too tight. It needed 1 extra stitch on each needle. Not much, but just enough to make it comfortable. Because I had more yarn now, I made the decision to unravel what I have done and start over. This isn't failure in my eyes. Starting over after learning certain aspects is as valid as doing it first time. And also, even seasoned knitters tend to start over their projects. It's really not that deep. The stretchiness of these kinds of knits is a big consideration. Every yarn is different, and it is good to be tested before committing to a full project. As an individual with high arch, another learning is to allow more space in a heel to make sure the socks have a longer lifespan and the stretch is not compromised. Autumn and winter always have been seasons for cozy handcrafts, like knitting and crocheting. Growing up in a place where changes in season are extremely noticeable, handcrafts have been a comforting process to pass dark evenings during autumn and winter. It is almost like a form of meditation that is designated for these seasons. I also have learned that my creative inclinations changes with seasons. As a person that enjoys a lot of different crafts and creative projects, I find it difficult to commit to one media. I find myself to empty the pool of creativity very quickly when projects are in the same media for extended periods of time. But the hustler's culture has told us to be exactly that. Lock in so you can create a business out of your craft. I'm still struggling with this idea, to be one very specific thing as a creative. Don't go out of your box. At the moment, my 1-sentence description is, I make stuff, and I make short films about the stuff I make. For time being, and this season in my life, I am content with that description. 2 weeks later, and I have finished this 2-year-long project. It gives a great sense of accomplishment for some reason. It was interesting to see myself get out of my own way to finish this neglected project in less than a month after a 2-year drag. So, this has been a mini creative journey, and I'm glad I did it because now I have a beautiful pair of new socks. Right on time for winter, which is great. I guess I will just talk a little bit about the technicalities of these socks. I'm glad I pushed myself through because there were some moments when I just almost gave up on it and put it back in unfinished projects. It's very simple knit. It's the plain knit because I thought the yarn does the main talking in this case. I think like the yarn is what just needs to be showed off rather than like some very complicated patterns and stuff, which I also didn't want to do because it extends the time of the knitting. The part where I wanted to give up multiple times was the heel turn. That's always a part that I always forget how to do, and I always need to look up at the instructions to get it right. On both socks I redid them 3 times, I think. Yeah, the heel turn is probably the most off-putting thing about knitting a sock. And you might be wondering about the amount of yarn I used, and the real kicker in this whole thing is that I did order another ball of yarn for this project and I ended up not even using it. This is the amount of the first yarn that has been left from this project, and it just frustrates me that I didn't consider that this might actually just take that one yarn. And maybe the takeaway in this whole thing is like, don't stop in your creative project before you actually run out of material. And another, I guess, technical part I want to talk about is how much time it took to me. And I actually tracked time down to seconds. Technically, I'm not gonna be using seconds, down to minutes. And here's like a little screenshot. For my first sock, I knitted for 17 hours and 3 minutes. And for my second sock, I knitted for 16 hours. So overall, 33 hours and 3 minutes took this project out of me. I mean, I'm not avid knitter. I don't do it more than once a year, and it would be autumn winter, if that. I don't knit every year, so yeah, I'm not the fastest knitter. I guess someone who knows how to knit but don't do it often enough. I guess that would be about amount of time it takes. One tip that I can share with you: use a safety pin as a marker so you don't have to count them every time, basically. I'm really happy that this project is now finished and I have a new pair of funky warm socks. But as this season continues, I have now opened the space for a new project to go ahead, and I think I have one on my mind.